Hello, gentlemen. So, front page and center, migrants break border gate. They break through the border and force their way into Mexico. And they've been talking about this. I've been hearing Donald Trump, he's been talking about, it's a crisis. And then I've been hearing people saying, oh, it's not a crisis. But that's not what we're seeing this morning, front page and center. And apparently there is something going on. My question is, when you see all of these people leaving their country and they're heading towards Mexico, and from what I was reading, they're heading into Mexico to leave Mexico and headed toward the US. And this seems like something that they're not telling, they're not telling people what is really going on. And so the article is reading Migrants Break Border Gate, Force Their Way into Mexico. And this is out of the Associated Press. And so obviously these people they're leaving for a reason. They're not, if they had all of their needs met, if they had a safe haven and they felt like they didn't have a reason to leave, they wouldn't be leaving, right? Obviously, there is something that is causing these people to leave their homeland. So, Central American migrants, part of the caravan hoping to reach the U.S. border, walk on the shoulder of the road of the Frontera Hidalgo, Mexico. And this was Friday, the 12th of April, 2019. So the group pushed past police guarding the bridge and joined a larger group of about 2,000 migrants who are walking towards Tapachula. And that is the latest caravan or most current to enter Mexico. So Mexico City, Mexican authorities said a group of about 350 migrants broke the locks on the gates at the Guatemalan border Friday and forced their way into the southern part of Mexico to join a larger group of migrants trying to make their way toward the U.S. The National Immigration Institute did not identify the nationalities of the migrants, but they are usually from Central America. So a similar confrontation occurred on the same border bridge between Mexico and Guatemala last year. So the Institute said that the migrants weren't acting in a hostile and aggressive way and accused them of also attacking local police in Matapa, a Mexican village that lies between the border and the nearby city of Tapachula. So the group of 350 people pushed past police guards and the bridge and joined the larger group of the 2,000 migrants who are walking toward Tapachula in the latest caravan to enter Mexico. So Claudia Jacqueline Sandoval, 43 years of age from El Progreso, Honduras, was walking toward Tapachula with a 6-year-old daughter. Another son and a daughter are already in the U.S. I have been HIV positive for 16 years, said Sandoval, but her reason for going north was not just medical treatment. It had been 2 years since she heard from her son in the United States, and money is very scarce, she said. Like I said, this group of people is not coming over here just because they want to come for a pleasure trip. They're trying to come over here because, like what this woman said, money is scarce. So obviously, like I said in the beginning, their basic needs are not being met. And so those people are being left with nothing to basically die. And so what does the human brain tell you to do when you're in fight and flight mode? When there's no food, there's no money, there's nothing left, is to survive, and you're going to do whatever you need to do just that. So there are already several groups of migrants in the southern border state of Chiapas who have expressed frustration at Mexico's policy of slowing or stopping the process of handing out humanitarian and exit visas at the border. So a group of several hundred Cuban, African, and Central American migrants have been waiting at the migration offices at Tapachula for documents that would allow them to travel to the U.S. border, where most plan to request asylum. Now, I don't believe that all of these people are criminals. However, yes, there could be some people who are in the group, and there could be a lot of people who are in the group that have had a checkered past, or they may be criminals. But I do honestly believe that these people are coming because there is not enough resources in their country and the government is not helping them. And they have problems with their government, as is most other places have problems with their government. And so it goes on to say that some members of the group have scuffled with immigration authorities and broken windows at the offices in recent days, accusing officials of making them wait too long for papers. And so what happens when they stand there and they wait and they're hungry and they have to use the bathroom? You have all those people. It becomes a madhouse. You're waiting to find out if you can find a safe haven, safe place to sleep, food to eat, a place for your children, a place for yourself, some safety net somewhere, because your government is not doing all of the things that you had intended to do, or there's not enough resources. And that could happen anywhere. So, and another group is estimated about 2,500 Central American and Cuban migrants that have been stuck for at least a week further west in the Chiapas town of it's Mapastepec, also waiting for papers. And so these people are waiting for papers so they can seek some type of assistance and asylum. And I've heard threats over social media in the past couple of weeks that they were threatening to go ahead and release migrants or migrant people coming into sanctuary cities. I don't know if anybody has seen that, but I believe even Trump had mentioned that he was outraged by some of the sanctuary cities even being sanctuary cities, and I believe he was stating, and some others on social media, that they were going to release migrants into these cities. So in other words, what I get from that is they'll just release random migrants. You won't know which ones really are just seeking asylum from those that they're just here and they were criminals in their country and homeland, and they come to bring their ill wills and criminal activity over to the U.S. and the sanctuary cities and wreak havoc in the sanctuary cities, is what I'm getting. The threats are intended. That may well be. It almost feels like they look at sanctuary cities as a wasteland, and that they're going to make sanctuary cities pay for their attitude of not jumping on the bandwagon of admitting that what he claims is a crisis he is, and the president claims is a border crisis, that if maybe they see what they're dealing with, they, as in people that are over the sanctuary, the various sanctuary cities, especially in California, if they see what these migrants are like, and even if you have people who are not criminals, think about it, they're going to have to seek some type of medical, um, dental, food, lodging, and that can be really costly. And if they come with other children, not unless if they have family members, but then that could be a lot of a strain on the family members if they're on a limited or fixed incomes. And so, what kinds of problems do we have already in these lower income neighborhoods and communities? Very little resource opportunities and lack of community involvement when it comes to government stepping in and helping people maintain order when it comes to having basic needs met. And number one issue that we've been talking about is homelessness. We have a large number of homeless populations in many cities, many metropolitan cities. And why? Because we've been talking about the problems that they have with the rising of rents and the cost of living. And so you already have people who are struggling that are already here, and they're trying to find solutions to those problems. But now you want to bring more poverty and people who are already struggling from where they're coming from and pretty much dump them on the laps of people who are already struggling. That's what I get from the threats. I mean, what do you think? I mean, it feels as though they're threats. And if you don't believe me, I'll pull it up. So this is not my words. And so these are the things that I've been noticing. I don't know if anybody else has noticed it or has read or heard of any of the threats that have been thrown about. But they have, I guess it's some people that are politicians that are right wing, and what they've been doing. Now, what it sounds like is when they say they're going to release migrants into sanctuary cities, it almost seems as though they're going to dump people into the cities. And it's actually, here's the article, and it's out of the LA Times, it's out of the Business Insider, it's out of the Washington Post. Trump is the one who is threatening. And mayors call Trump's bluff on sending migrants to sanctuary cities. So I don't know if you all are seeing this, but I will pull up an article so that you know that I'm not making it up. Trump confirms he wants to release detained migrants into sanctuary cities as punishment for Democrats. This should make them very happy. Okay, so these are people who have been detained, but they are migrants. And, like if they catch people that are breaking through the borders and they put them in a holding area and detain them, Trump is angry and he's threatened to release them into the sanctuary cities. So President Donald Trump on Friday confirmed that his administration was giving strong consideration to a plan that would have immigration officials release migrants from detention centers into so-called sanctuary cities. Due to the fact that Democrats are unwilling to change our very dangerous immigration laws, we are indeed, as reported, giving strong consideration to placing illegal immigrants in sanctuary cities only, he tweeted. Now, that sounds like, ha ha ha, we're going to put the worst of the worst in your cities and you deal with it. That's what it sounds like. So the radical left, as they call it, always seems to have an open border, open arm policy. So this should make them very happy. And this is out of Trump's wording. So the Washington Post reported Thursday evening that the White House had asked U.S. immigration officials multiple times in recent months to look into such a plan. So they're seriously considering it, you guys. So this doesn't sound very good. And it sounds like it almost seems like they're committing a crime by doing this. Because what they're saying is, we're not going to give them food, we're not going to give them shelter, we're not going to give them any refuge, we're just going to release them into your cities. Like animals, like you're releasing animals into, a civilized area, and you're just going to let them run amok. That's the way the threat sounds. That's what I'm saying, how he's wording it. So which was partly intended to punish Democrats lawmakers. So that's what this whole thing's about. It's the right versus the left versus the right, and the right wants to punish the left, and Republicans that are far right want to punish the far left. So White House officials floated the idea at least twice. According to Department of Homeland Security emails reviewed the Post and unnamed DHS officials. So both instances occurred when the Trump administration faced fierce opposition to its immigration policies. So the White House initially proposed the idea in November as a Central American migrant caravan travel towards the U.S. border. Now, wait till you get a load of this picture that's about to come up. So don't be shocked. So the White House asked multiple agencies whether it could detain the migrants at the border and then transport them to sanctuary cities. Now look at the groups of people you see here. It's huge, isn't it? 7,000 migrants from Central America in Mexico en route to the U.S. This was back in October. And so they wanted to detain many of them and then just start releasing them into sanctuary cities. It would be overcrowded, overrun, probably a larger number of homeless people, I would gather, because they don't act as though that they want to help these people. They act as though they want to use these people as weapons to say, ha, 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 all these people who are left-wing states, cities, ha, 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 look what we did. We released people who are in need and in poverty, like as if they're not human, and dumped them in your sanctuary cities, and now you deal with it. So the proposal was apparently floated again in February, 1 month after Trump and the Democratic lawmakers were at an impasse over funding for the president's proposed border wall, which he's still touting about the border wall. I think it's expensive, it's a waste of money, and people are going to figure out ways to get around it anyway. That's my opinion. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi district in San Francisco was one of the sanctuary city drop-off points mentioned in the plan, Homeland Security officials told the Post. So the city bills itself as a sanctuary city now, tomorrow, and forever. And it has drawn eerie from Trump, or Irie, I would say. That's what we say in Jamaica, Irie. But Irie is a whole nother way. Well, I would say Trump is vexed for its policies limiting police compliance with U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, so an unnecessary operational burden. White House officials reportedly believe that the benefit would be twofold. So the plan would be meant to both address the limited space in detention centers because they're running out of space in the detention centers. So they have filled up to capacity. So that's one thing that they're thinking that they're doing that is, okay, that's going to solve the detention center problem. We'll just dump them into sanctuary cities. So the White House senior advisor, Stephen Miller, one of the Trump administration's immigration hardliners, was one of the plan's advocates at Department of Homeland Security, officials told the Post. And so this is Stephen Miller taping Sunday show interviews from the White House. And so goes on to say that it was basically an idea that Miller wanted that nobody else wanted to carry out. A congressional investigator who spoke at the Department of Homeland Security whistleblower told the newspaper. What happened here is that Stephen Miller called people at ICE, Immigration's Custom Enforcement, and said that if they're going to cut funding, you got to make sure that you're releasing people in Pelosi's district and other congressional districts. So this is a plot to get back at Democrats. But meanwhile, what about people who are not, they're not even aware that this is going on. It's like you're releasing people. And yeah, some of the people are not harmful. But what if some of these people are criminals, rapists, murderers, killers? That's a possibility. And because you don't like Democrats' decisions, so you're going to risk the lives of people who are innocent by dumping people who are in poverty on poverty that is happening, we're trying to resolve here in the U.S. That just seems really crazy to me. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? It just seems really crazy. It seems like it'll just make things a lot worse. So what happened here is that Stephen Miller called people at the ICE and said that they're going to cut the funding. Okay, so you got to make sure that these people are released in Pelosi's district. It seems deliberate the way this sounds. And other congressional districts. So this is the way these politicians handle their solutions. Seems a bit barbaric, but Trump was said to have encouraged Christine Nielsen, the recently ousted Secretary of Homeland Security, to execute this idea, according to the separate CNN report. So Nielsen's reportedly resisted. And so she resigned from her post on Sunday, and several other top Department of Homeland Security officials have left the department in recent days. Why, people? If you've noticed that they've left or resigned from their positions, it's because they know that this could possibly be something that is going on right now. And so don't be surprised if you see more homeless people, more people on the street, more people struggling, more crime, because when you have poverty, you're going to have more crime, regardless of who or what group of people it is. So ICE reportedly didn't think it was a good idea. So I don't think it's a good idea, but the attorney said that officials at ICE reported reportedly rejected the idea, believing it was inappropriate and had a potential to become a public relations crisis. Exactly. Exactly. It's a public, you're releasing people also whom they haven't had the proper medical care. And if they're coming with diseases and they don't have any food, they don't have any lodging, they don't have any shelter, you're not giving them any resources, you're not giving them any hope, and you're not giving them proper medical care, but you're just going to dump people that are in poverty on other people who are in poverty and struggling. It's a public relations crisis. So Matthew Albence, ICE acting deputy director, who was recently taped to become the acting director, told the Post in a statement that he was never pressured, though he was consulted on the idea. So as the acting deputy, I was not pressured by anyone at the White House on this issue, the statement said. I was asked my opinion and provided it, and my advice was heeded. So these are people who are claiming we want sanctuary cities. So Democrats in Cincinnati, January 30, 2017, chanted against Trump's executive order, temporarily barring immigrants from 7 major Muslim countries from entering the U.S. So Albence had previously discussed the idea in emails, which were later obtained by the Post, and had said that the plan would create an unnecessary operational burden on the agency and could have major liability implications. So, not sure how paying to transport aliens to another location to release them. And look at how they call human beings aliens. You know, they make people who are in need, who are suffering, sound like they're from some foreign planet, not even of this earth. And it's just, it sounds really divisive. Now, sure, how paying to transport aliens to another location to release, not sure how he's. Oh man, it just sounds horrible. But anyway, not sure how paying to transport aliens to another location to release them when they can be released on the spot is a justified expenditure. So Albence wrote, according to the Post, not to mention the liability should there be an accident along the way. And so according to the CNN, Miller was angered that Department of Homeland Security lawyers refused to produce legal guidance that would make the plan viable, saying that proposal would likely be illegal. That's what I was thinking. Isn't that illegal to just make a hasty decision to thrust people who are in need, people who are sick, people who need medical care, food, lodging? You don't give them any hope, no resources, no hope for food or lodging or medical care, no hope for a place where that they can probably work on the paperwork that they need. You just thrust them into a whole nother atmosphere or place where they're unfamiliar with, or they don't have any needs met, and you expect them to thrive. You know, some might be able to make it if they have relatives that are already in the US, such as the woman that was speaking earlier on in the other article I was reading. But what about people who've never been to the US and their home was back where they left it and it was abandoned because they don't have their basic needs met? And they might be carrying diseases, they might be sick, they need medical care, and you just push them on people. It sounds to me like something criminal, illegal. And so this is what this is saying here, that according to CNN, Miller was angered. that Department of Homeland Security lawyers refused to produce legal guidance that would make the plan viable, saying that the proposal would likely be illegal. So in a statement proposed, the White House said it was just a suggestion that was rejected and ended any further discussion. So Trump frequently rails against Democratic lawmakers and their support of sanctuary cities. And I've heard this, I've seen it in many articles that he's totally against sanctuary cities. And he has his reasons. So Trump characterizes the cities as places that are rife with dangerous and violent criminal aliens, despite some statistics showing a downward trend of violent crime in most major cities. And so this is pretty much it. These are sort of related articles that have to do with some similarities of what has been going on. But I just thought that this is really, it sounded to me, just think of that. Just look at this picture here. Because politicians, people who are in office, political figures are angry with one another, and one side feels the need to make a point towards another side of politicians, they would take people and use them against other people as weapons to prove their point. It sounds illegal to me. What do you think? So you see it here, the title, and who's doing it. Look at that. I don't know what you think about this, but looks like something really big is going to happen. Like I said, and I always said this. I don't know if it might have been several videos ago, but I said that this was like the reckoning. If you ask me, this was the reckoning that eventually it would come to a place where people would begin to see that most governments are not honest and they don't tell the truth, and there's a lot of problems. Most metropolitan cities are suffering with a population of homelessness and poverty. There are a lot of people that are on the street because they don't have any food to eat, they don't have any place to go, and this is what is happening. And I would say this whole argument is a crisis. So Trump weighs sending unlimited supply of immigrants to sanctuary cities. And so I don't know if anybody else is paying attention, but I've been paying attention. So this article is by Richard Cowan. President Donald Trump said that on Friday he was considering sending illegal immigrants into countries to so-called sanctuary cities, prompting U.S. mayors to accept such an offer as the battle over border security rage. Frustrated by rising numbers of undocumented immigrants arriving at the southern border and a failure to let Congress to fully fund the U.S.-Mexico border wall, Trump taunted to Democrats by dangling the possibility of an influx of illegal immigrants into their communities. And most of those communities are going to be communities that already are dealing with homelessness and poverty and some of the issues that we've talked about that you might have heard via social media. So due to the fact that Democrats are unwilling to change our very dangerous immigration laws, we are indeed, as reported, giving strong consideration to placing illegal immigrants into sanctuary cities only. You hear that? Only. Cities that aren't sanctuary cities, they're not going to be released into those cities, but they will be released into cities that are sanctuary. Now, here's how your plan could backfire. I'm going to play, this what if thing. You release them into sanctuary cities, but that doesn't mean they can't leave out of those sanctuary cities and go to other cities that aren't sanctuary cities. So that's how your plan could possibly backfire. So Philadelphia Mayor Jim Kenney responded in a statement: while the Trump administration's proposal shows their disdain to basic human dignity, the city of Philadelphia would be prepared to welcome these immigrants just as we have embraced our immigrant community for decades. So in February, a federal appeals court said the Trump administration should not terminate federal grants to Philadelphia for its refusal to cooperate with the immigration agent seeking to deport immigrants. Okay, so there also were threats that sanctuary cities weren't going to receive funding from the government. And there were certain things that they were going to deny sanctuary cities if they didn't turn around and follow his lead. Trump, rather, was also threatening that. So in Chicago, the mayor, Rahm Emanuel, said in a statement that we would welcome these migrants with open arms, just as we welcome Syrian refugees, just as we welcome Puerto Rican displaced by Hurricane Maria, just as we welcome Rohingya refugees fleeing genocide in Myanmar. So sanctuary cities are local jurisdictions that generally give undocumented immigrants safe harbor by refusing to use their resources to help enforce federal immigration laws that could lead to deportation. And so those localities argue that it is not their responsibility to get involved in federal enforcement and that doing so could hinder policing efforts within the communities. So Washington Post first reported on Thursday that the White House has been considering a plan for transporting immigration or immigrants in detention and releasing them into sanctuary cities that are Democratic strongholds. So the newspaper reported that there was resistance from some high level Department of Homeland Security officials concerned about several aspects of this plan, such plan including the potential cost that it would be. Exactly, because it's going to cost a lot of money because people need food, they need medical care, they need shelter, they need clothing, they need basic needs. And if they're just released into cities with nothing, and there's already problems in these cities with poverty and people trying to find jobs, trying to find housing, limited number of housing, you're pretty much putting the city in a situation of chaos. So, nevertheless, Trump, speaking to reporters at the White House on Friday, said that of the sanctuary cities, we can give them an unlimited supply of immigrants. Unlimited, you hear that? So, White House spokesman Hogan Gidley said these would be illegal aliens that are already set for release, which would include families with children. And so House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi hometown of San Francisco is another sanctuary city. And San Francisco is so expensive to live and it's full of poverty. And I've heard some really horrible stories about how you can literally walk on the street and find people taking a dump right out on the sidewalks. It is filled with homeless people in San Francisco. And so to release people into places like that poverty on top of poverty is wrong. So in remarks to the reporters on Friday, Pelosi, a Democrat, said that she was not aware of the newspaper report, but she added, it's just another notion that is unworthy of the presidency of the U.S. and disrespectful of the challenges that we face as a country, as people to address who we are, a nation of immigrants. So Pelosi was in Leesburg, Virginia, where House Democrats were wrapping up a 3-day retreat. So one immigration expert who asked not to be notified noted that the undocumented immigrants in federal custody could be at one of the several stages of education process, and that Trump likely has the power to have them set to a different jurisdiction from where they are being held. But the source added, this is a stunt. It doesn't enhance the efficiency of the process. So Trump's challenge to Democrats came one day after Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, a Republican like Trump, told reporters that he wanted to launch bipartisan negotiations to seek solution to the nation's immigration woes. So in March alone, 103 1,492 undocumented immigrants have been taken into custody along with the southern border or turned away. Many of them are El Salvadorian, Honduras, Guatemalan, and are seeking asylum in the U.S. away from high levels of violent crime, illegal drugs at home. So that's pretty much that article. And so this is pretty serious. Democrats condemn Trump's plan to send migrants into sanctuary cities as cruelty. It is. It's cruel. It's cruel. They're already suffering. They need place. Look at these people. They need a place to sleep, food to eat. These are not aliens. They're human beings, and they're in need of resources. And we have problems here as people here in these cities. They're treating, for example, they're treating Black people like we're aliens. They've always treated us like that. And there are cities where we're being outpriced. We're being pushed out of neighborhoods because we simply cannot afford the rent. You're working every day, working longer hours. You're having to stay up late. You're having to, as soon as you go home, you got to get up right away at the crack of dawn and go to work. You're working to just have a place to stay, basically. And food to eat. And so a lot of our people are being pushed out of neighborhoods that we've always lived in all of our lives. And being told that because you can't afford it, you can be evicted within 60 days. And so this is cruel. This is cruel. And so now you want to send people who already are, their people are already homeless over here in California cities. And so now you want to send more homeless people, more people in poverty, more people in need, more people that need resources on top of people who already are in poverty. Yes, it is cruelty. It's wrong. So that's what I'm saying. Anybody doesn't like what I'm saying, then this is not the video for you. I'm just being honest about it. This is my honest opinion. I think all of this is wrong. And I think it's cruel. And I think it's cruel also. You know, you're looking at these people here and they're suffering, but you got cities right here in America that are suffering, have always been suffering. And nobody seems to care, except the people that live there and that have been there. And that every now and then you'll have an article that talks about some of the things that go on in these cities with people that are right here in America. And so I just think that people really need to take a hard look at what's going on. And you know, there are people who have the power that they could make more housing for people who need it. They could make things change. If you can get people out of prison for clemency, if you can wear nice clothes and shoes and wear nice hairstyles and go to nice venues, then you can definitely build housing that legally they cannot go up on the rent, that they could put a cap on. You could fight for the rights of people who have lived in neighborhoods and communities for generations, who are working class people. They might not be rich, they might not make a lot of money, but they do work to make an honest living. There are people we've seen who maybe they had some checkered past, but they made up for that. They tried to get on the right track. They've been pushed out every which way they go, and a lot of it has been because of their skin color, and they're not able to live in the communities they've always lived in. Now you want to push them out of their communities simply because they can't pay $3,000 and $4,000 and $5,000 a month to stay in an apartment that's not nowhere near worth that amount of money whatsoever. Okay, so I said what I had to say. What do you think about this? This is really sad. I mean, I see a lot of craziness in this. This is potentially a really serious issue here. And I don't think a lot of people are realizing that this could already be happening as we speak. So, but what's crazy is I feel like we as people in communities that are just like regular working class people or lower income people or people you don't make six figures necessarily per se, you have to suffer and bear the brunt of decisions that are made in the White House simply because two opposing groups are upset with one another. How does this make this right? I don't see how it does. With that being said, I'm going to let this video go. What are your thoughts on this? I think it's sad because it victimizes innocent people who they just need shelter. They need their basic needs met. We've got people right here in America that have been pushed, are being pushed out and treated like migrants. And if you don't know who those people are, then I'm going to say it. They're Black people in communities that are being treated like migrants in their own U.S. communities. Thanks for listening.